But I think the more promising than this are the other factors which they are now seriously considering, which is recapturing the unused visa numbers all the way, 20 years back, since the backlog started happening.
Yeah.
And every year visas are being used. I think that's one of the things that we could see happening, because there's a lot of lobby on it. There is a lot of pressure to solve this backlog situation, because children are aging out, which is a big
Yeah.
So I think I have more, hope that visa,
For that.
so that backlog is reduced. And also, if they can push it to exclude the derivatives from the green card numbers.
I am Priya from It's OK Yaar, and if you're new today, It's OK Yaar is a content platform for South Asian immigrants, and we aim to entertain, educate, and empower them. Sonal, thank you so much for joining. For everyone who's new here, Sonal has her own law firm in New York, and she has generously given us her time to answer a lot of your questions. I will be going through all the questions that you sent, and we'll try to cover as many as we can. And we'll try to take a couple of live questions in the end if time permits. So that's the structure. But before we begin, Sonal, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your law firm?
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's great, to just get engaged with people and speak about things which affect all of us, of course. Well, my story is not different from any other immigrant who has come to this country. I also came here as an immigrant in 2008 on H4 visa. And so I know what it is and how you go through it. And coming here, I decided to go back to law school. I did my master's, cleared the bar exams. At that point, actually, my all was from international litigation and arbitration, so I wanted to continue in that. For that, I moved to Paris to work with law firms, then London, and then eventually, because my husband was here, I just decided to move back, and that's how I moved into immigration, because by then, 2016, we got the H4 EAD. Which allowed me with much more opportunities to explore here in US. And that's how I ended up with immigration. And after working with a law firm for about 5 years, last year, I opened my own law firm and been through the whole journey of H4 to green card. So here I am. I think I decided to stay in this field because I knew how it has affected me. And being a lawyer, at some point, I just had to get into it to understand what is happening, what's going on with immigration. And it felt like having more control being a lawyer. I didn't want to feel helpless over myself being a lawyer. I don't know what's happening with my case and stuff. And that made me, I think, stay in this profession. And also because I could relate with people I'm serving.
Totally.
Right? Because I have been through that whole cycle. I just think that I can understand them better and maybe give them hope. If I can do it, so can you. Just imagine, wait, write it out, and you're there. So
no,
go ahead. Is based out of New York. My office is in downtown New York, and feel free to drop by, any of you guys, if you ever. So
no, thank you, Sonal, and I know your journey is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing your background a little bit. Hopefully, a lot of people can relate with it. At the end, we will make sure that we share how they can reach out to you if needed, and link your website as well, so that if people have specific questions, they can get there. But I want to make sure we try to answer as many questions as possible today. So we'll get started. But before we get into the first question, there was the H4 Work Authorization Bill that was introduced. If you could give quick take on what do you think is a fair timeline for that? Is it a good thing? Can you give us a little bit of your flavor on the H4 Work Authorization Bill that was just introduced?
Well, see, the issue with the bills, I saw your latest reel, right? So you tried to explain it, and that's pretty much on the point.
Okay.
So many bills have been introduced in last 12, 13 years of me being here. They go nowhere. So
Yeah.
I don't really talk about it until unless it reaches certain point where there is a viability of it becoming a law, because every day something is being introduced,
Okay.
But yes, so there's different parts of it, right? Just one bill, or they might make it part of like a bigger bill, which House is trying to pass. So the Compete Act that was passed by the House, and then there is a Senate version that was passed by Senate last year. Those are two different versions. Now they have to get together and reconcile it and figure out their differences. And if they agree on something, then it will go to the, one final bill to the president, and then it might become law. But I wouldn't get my hopes high on, because it will require change in the law itself, because H4 EAD is not incidental to the status.
Correct.
Right? It's based on the approval of the I-140. So that makes it a little bit more tricky to get done with a broken Congress. And also this is a political issue as well, right? A lot of political factors play into this, whether they want to go ahead or not. But I think the more promising than this are the other factors which they are now seriously considering, which is recapturing the unused visa numbers all the way, 20 years back, since the backlog started happening. Yeah. And every year visas are being used. I think that's one of the things that we could see happening, because there's a lot of lobby on it. There is a lot of pressure to solve this backlog situation, because children are aging out, which is a big problem. So I think I have more, hope that visa
for that,
so that backlog is reduced. And also if, they can push it to exclude the derivatives from the green card numbers. That would be a huge, huge help, because right now, if you have 100,000 visas to give, green cards to give, all 4 members of the family are counted against that. So trying to say is like derivatives don't count them that, just allocate one person whose green card application it is, and then just give family as not count them against that, because one person applies and then a family of 4 gets, so backlog is
it doesn't work out. So yeah, like this, so the understanding is basically the bill right now can be a little more long term, but all other changes might just help reduce a lot of backlogs that are going on either with visas or green card. Okay, awesome. Thanks. And I will go start asking questions so that we can get through as many. I want to make sure we get them answered. So the first one is, if your H4 EAD is under processing, can your spouse change her job?
Yes, they can. That's not good. But, the issue is that you just have to be careful whether your status has expired or not. If your just EAD is pending, I don't think it's an issue. But if your H4 is also pending and your husband is moving jobs, and that's pending because your husband's H1 was filed with you and his got approved and yours is pending, what happens, the tricky part here could be that employer might withdraw his H1. Withdraws his H1, then your H4 pending, when they pick it up, they are not going to be able to relate it that, a new H1 has already been assigned to your husband. They might come back and say like, hey, we can't give you H1 because your husband's H1 was revoked. If they come back with an RFE, you have a time to, respond with the new I-797, but it automatically does not affect your pendency of H4 or H4 EAD. They definitely can switch jobs.
Okay, awesome. The second one is, if an Indian citizen marries a British citizen with a green card, can the green card holder sponsor for the spouse?
Absolutely. Yes, they can. The dates are actually current for green card holders to apply for their spouses. Dates are current. So depending on whether they are here in the city or in the States, or wherever outside of United States, depending on the process will differ. If they're here, they could file the I-485. If they're not here, then they will have to do consular processing. But yes, of course, they can.
Okay, awesome. Third one is, can we file two H-1B petitions from two different employers for different projects? What are the benefits and risks involved?
Well, you can. There is no bar. Concurrent H-1B is allowed. So the other employer will just have to file it as a concurrent employment for you. The excuse me. The only issue is that you work. The normal working hours in United States are like 40 hours a week, right? If
Okay.
you're two full-time jobs and you're showing that you're working 80 hours a week.
Okay.
So if you can show that you actually are working 80 hours a week, then, all good and fine. You can do 2 regular jobs, but it just gets too much. Like, so you basically
Okay.
hours a day. Is it really real? So generally people who do 2 employers, 2 projects, 2 H-1Bs, they generally do the other job as a part-time. That's like,
Okay.
like they would do it for like 20 hours a week. Then it makes a 60 hours a week in total, and that's fine. Or they do 2 part-time, like 30 with one, 30 with other, 20 with one, 20 with.
Okay.
But yes, concurrent. But it cannot be just like I have the H-1B and I then tell the other employer to just file a normal H-1B. It has to be a concurrent H-1B.
Concurrent H-1B. Okay, so that's the thing. Like, it cannot be like 2 H-1Bs and one doesn't. No, it has to be a concurrent H-1B. Got it.
And
Okay.
work with both. You could have
You
10
can.
approvals from 10 different employers, but you're only working with one. If you want to work with 2 at a time, then it has to be a concurrent H-1B.
Concurrent. Okay, got it. Got it. That's helpful. I also did not know about this, so that's good to know. Can we still get visa stamp if the start date on I-797 is later and the appointment date is earlier?
Yes, simple is yes, but then there can be tricks in there. If this is the first time, then no issue, right? You're going to get it, and then you will be able to travel 10 days in advance of start date of your visa. And that's straightforward, no issues. But if you are right now on H-1B and you filed your H-1 extension 6 months in advance, so your status is expiring in 9/30 and you filed it in April 1 with premium processing, got it approved. Now you're traveling in August and asking the stamp of the visa, which is starting on 10/1, then you're going to get the visa. But when you're coming back, they're not going to let you use that visa because it's not going to start until September 1.
September 1.
So
got it.
For 3 years. So little bit tricks here and there, which might depend on the situation. But in general, yes, they will give you visa, but the start date will be the start date of your I-797.
Got it. And for everyone who's joined, like if you also have a question, we will try to take some live questions. So keep adding them in the comments or just drop a comment. If you need something specific, we'll try our best. Again, thanks, Sonal. We'll continue. I am on H4 visa. Are we allowed to do practicum work without work authorization? I don't know what practicum is. Is it a legal term, or we can skip this one?
I don't think, I think maybe she means internship or something. Well, the straight answer is unless it is charitable work, you just can't do it. Right? So the H4 visa is one of the most
restrictive ones.
Restrictive visa. So unless it is some charitable work, you can do it.
Yeah, so you cannot get paid for this. You can only do volunteering. We have a guide on It's OKR that you can check it out, but you cannot get paid for this if you do not have work authorization. Okay, the next one, how long can I stay in the US legally after filing for H4 while on a tourist visa?
Well, so you can as long as it takes for the H4 to get approved, right? Because file it, that gives you a basis to stay here. But if it's for some reason gets denied, that's where the problem is going to come in. But H4 generally, because it's based on marriage, and chances of it getting rejected are very low because they check whether you're married and papers are there. But yes, you can stay here as long as it is pending. But if it gets denied for some reason, then there are some issues, that consequences of that after your I-94 expiry of the B2, whatever that period, that might create a problem for you later on for other visas. But well, you can stay here if you have filed it. It's considered authorized period of stay.
Got it. Next one is, I am on L2 working in a managerial role. Can my employer file for green card?
The simple answer, yes, they can. But in under what classification, that would need, like, whether you qualify for that or not. If this person thinks whether they can file L1 for her and then EB1C for her, that will depend on whether she has worked with this employer outside of the country for a year or not to qualify under the EB1C. But other than that, if she's on L2, they can definitely form process for her, and the I-140 process, the green card process, what the normal would require, EB2, EB3, whatever category, that's yes. For EB1C, the certain criteria will have to be met.
Got it. The next one is kind of similar. Best possible ways to upgrade from EB2 to EB1 category.
Again, it depends on your profile, right? Whether you qualify for EB1A or EB1C, those are the only two ways you could gonna do it. EB1A is like totally on your own. You can self-petition, but the standard is really high. If you have all the documentation to prove it, sure, it can be done. And if EB1C, then the best way to do it is if you're already working here for your employer in a managerial capacity on an H-1B. A lot of my clients, what they do is they send back that employee to India or wherever, London or whatever, to stay there in that managerial capacity for 1 year. Then they come back and then they file it in the EB1C category, because then you meet the requirements of staying outside of United States in a managerial position for at least a year. It can be done, and a lot of Indians are doing this right now because the wait line for EB2 is so long, and EB3 equally. So EB1 is faster right now. So people who have spent a lot of time here with their employers, they don't mind going back for a year and then coming back.
Coming back. Makes sense. Okay. Back to the H4 once again. I do H4. I did H4 change of status and applied for EAD. Now I am getting F1 visa. Should I cancel EAD explicitly after entering US?
No, you don't really need to. You just don't do it. You can't just use it now. So there is no process for you to cancel it. You just don't use it because you're not on that visa anymore. So if you're on F1, you're entering US on F1, then just maintain your F status, because if you use that H4 EAD while on F1, you're violating your F1 status. So just forget about that you ever got it and just let it be.
Okay, got it. Can you travel to India while your H4 EAD is pending? This one we get a lot.
Yes, you can. Simple answer again. Yes, you can. But if it is pending along with your H4 extension, then what happens is they should not take it together. USCIS, because even if they were to say, because you left US, we are going to consider your H4 application as abandoned because you don't need that extension anymore, being not physically in the US, they should still give you the H4 EAD. But offices most of the time cannot make that assessment on their own. That person might be going and then coming back on H4 visa. So that's why they wouldn't need the H4 extension, but they would still need the H4 EAD. So it can happen that they might come back to you with an RFE asking that, hey, you have like blah, blah, blah. So we are gonna, not give you H4. And then you can respond saying like, I came back on H4 visa. Here is my visa. Give me the EAD at least. And if they don't, and they just deny it, coming back to you, we saw in the system, you left United States, so you abandoned your H4 application. Now, because we are not going to give you H4, we are not going to give you H4 EAD. So that can happen. So it's better not to travel. But if you already have the H4 visa, say somebody entered on H4 visa and then applied for H4 EAD, and then they leave, no, it's not going to get canceled. But if you're extending along with it, then
That's very helpful. That's very helpful because we get this a lot, and I think that's very good to understand. Thanks for this. Next one is, can Indian PhD apply for green card? What's the possibility of getting?
Again, yes, you can. Possibility
depends.
Right?
Completely.
your profile is, whether you're meeting the criteria or not. So detailed assessment is required, but the simple answer is yes.
You can. Okay. So yes, anyone who is we also get this a lot, and which is why I'm reiterating, if you are an Indian PhD holder, you are eligible for green card. You just need to like work with a lawyer and figure out how to get it done. Next one, can a corporation incorporated in New Jersey, owner has a visitor visa with no employees, file for L1?
Well, again, the question is not clear. The simple answer is yes, but the question more important is for who. If the employer wants to file it for himself because he's the owner and here on B2 and now would like to be on L1 as CEO of the company, yes, it can be done.
Okay.
If the owner wants to apply for somebody else and bring somebody from India and he will keep on visiting or she will keep on visiting on B2, yes, that can also be done because entity is going to file the L1 visa, not the owner. It's the company that sponsors the visa. So there is a distinction between the owner and the company. Visa is being sponsored by the company. So now, company, then most of the new companies then when are open, they generally apply for the L1 new company L1 visa, where they want to bring somebody from outside to start running the company. And that is only given for 1 year in the beginning for you to come and start running company so that it can start doing business. After 1 year, you can ask for like normal 2-year extension period. But yes, it is done. We do it all the time. But again, more specifics for who, how,
needed,
why or not. But yeah, it can be done.
Okay. If my work is remote, can I work from India for indefinite time if I have green card?
Well, so for green card, you need to have some physical presence to maintain your green card. If you stay more than a year outside of United States without taking any action on it, it's considered abandoned. They have been little lenient due to COVID in the last few years, but if the plan is that you have the green card and you would rather work from India for like 2 years, apply for a re-entry permit. Re-entry permit is basically you're taking the permission beforehand, that telling them that I have plans for this reason to stay out for a longer period of time, up to 2 years. So it should not be considered abandoned, but you have to maintain green card. Otherwise it's considered abandoned, that you do not have the intention to live here and have United States as your domicile. So say not 6 months, more than 6 months at a time. If you're planning to stay more than 6 months at a time, apply for a re-entry permit.
Got it. Okay. If one is on H4 visa, not EAD, can one accept income via YouTube ads, not paid collaborations?
No. No.
Okay.
Anything which is active work is not allowed. So trading is another example. You can invest in mutual funds, you can invest in stocks, you can do all of that. And of course you get like dividend and everything from that, but you can do sell buy, day trading on an H4. A simple rule, that similar rules apply. Wherever you are doing something actively to make money, that's not allowed. So anything from YouTube or any paid from ads and all, no, not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. And like, I think this is my personal take on it, and so you can definitely comment. But to make money from a YouTube video, it takes a very long time. If you are doing YouTube as a hobby while you don't have your EAD, do whatever it takes, because honestly, you will not start making, and we're personally doing it, so I can tell you that when you start your YouTube channel, no ads are going to give you any sort of money. It takes a very, very long time to get there. So till it's a hobby, you should be okay. Like that's me though. I am not a lawyer, you guys, but I think you cannot get any money from YouTube till you become really big.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's not a big, question something caveat that we give to the clients, because everybody knows how difficult it is to get to a level where you actually start making money. It's not something which we like, oh, that's so easy and everybody can do it, so let us tell them in advance. So that's not the case. But yes, it shouldn't. It's not allowed.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is there any H1 in summer this year? I think they're asking if we think there will be another lottery result.
It looks like it. Given
Okay.
the registrations, like it was like 483,000 something app registrations done this year, which is insane number of registrations. So looks like there was like a lot of registrations done like from people by different employers. So the word amongst practitioners, we are definitely looking at second round.
Okay, awesome. I'll try to get through a couple of more and then take some live questions. Quickly, we will do H-1B visa master's cap is only for applicants with US master degree or foreign MS is also okay.
US masters only.
Okay, got it. Do PhD students get O1 visa?
They can. If they qualify for there are 10 criteria, you have to meet at least 3. There is a recent update on guidance on that, where they've included the engineering and STEM fields, what kind of evidence that can be used. So it's much more helpful, but yes, it can be done as long as the criteria.
F3 file, notice of immigration on 8th April 2021. No further development. Okay, I'm not sure if you can help with. Okay, I get it. I think this is very unclear, very specific. So the person has to work with someone. This is tough for us to explain. Is EB2 to EB1 porting an option and possible? I think we discussed this one. If you are eligible, you can. What is interview waiver, VAC, F2F, visa interview best possible option to avoid 221G and get better approval? I think this is a lot of questions, but if you have like high level, anything on this. I think the big question the person is trying to ask is how do I avoid a 221G and get approval?
Well, it's really not in your hands, right? It's a lot of factors are there. Who is your employer? What's their record with USCIS, what kind of petitions they have been filing, what kind of documents were attached with your H-1B. So right now what is happening is USCIS does not have a standing to ask for additional documents anymore after they lost few lawsuits a couple of years ago. And all those Newfold memo asking for contracts and client letters and all those were also rescinded out of that settlement. So right now they don't have any legal basis to issue an RFE and asking for, give us a client letter, give us a vendor letter. So anything bare minimum documents you're filing an H-1B petition is getting approved. But then at the DOS level, when you go for the consulate for the interview, that's where they can ask you for all these documents, because that's a different agency. They're not bound by it's only for USCIS. Consulate are under Department of State, totally different department. So they have much more discretion in questions and, giving you. So if your file is H-1B file is like, there is nothing attached to show where you're going to work, there's actually a client there where you're going to work, then of course they're going to come back and ask you for more documents. But if it's a clean case, like an in-house position with Google, I don't think they're going to raise you in a 221.
Got it. Got it. Okay, I'm going to start taking some live questions. This one I feel is really important. This is for a client. Someone is asking, I am in an abusive marriage on H4. I have EAD and working in retail store. If I file for divorce, will I be able to keep my visa status?
No. H4 is based on H1. If you get divorced, you don't have any standing, but yes, you can file for a VAWA claim. There are other visa options available. Before you try to divorce yourself, maybe get started on that so that it gives you spaces to stay here after you get divorced. So no, you need another visa to stay here if you get divorced, because H4 is dependent on H1.
Okay. Another one similar. I think I am going through a divorce. My wife before the divorce has filed on H4 and EB5 with some fraudulent documents. What is the best approach to safeguard my visa status?
Which visa status? H4?
I think the person is on H1. I think wife is on H4, filed divorce, and has filed for an EB5.
Okay. Well, complicated situation. Again, a lot of information will be needed to give some suggestion, but I would say work with a family attorney very closely because they will help you understand what you're looking at from divorce perspective and what all document and evidence you need to keep ready just in case she files some fraudulent case against you, or he files like a fraudulent case against the other partner who is on H-1B. Then you need to prepare in advance and have all sort of documents ready to show like who was at fault. So I would say work closely with your family attorney to make sure that you collect all the information which might be required at a later date. I don't understand the balance of EB5.
No, I get it. Okay. No, I completely understand. Thanks for answering. A couple of more. I know we are almost out of time. Can you throw some focus on F3 and F4 status? When can 2006 F4 start? It shows priority date, but I'm not getting any response from NVC.
Well, the problem is there is a lot of backlog at the consulates. So NVC is not going to do anything if you have already done the case. The priority date is if the priority date is current and everything has already been done, they're just going to send the case to the consulate for the interview process. And nothing is in hands of NVC after the process is completed by NVC, like you have submitted all the civil documents and you have paid your fees and everything is done. Then nothing is at their hand. Like now, if dates are current and you haven't gotten anything from NVC, then you should reach out to them. They have a specific inquiry form, which you can fill out and make an inquiry on your case, and they get back generally within a couple of weeks. And then they give you an email address to correspond on that. So if the case is not moving at all, after like the NVC part of it is not done, then you have to follow up with the NVC. If everything is done and you're just waiting for the interview, then NVC really can't do anything about it unless the consulate schedules an interview for you.
Okay. Last two we will take, and that is it, guys. These are the last two questions. One is, I am considering masters. Would it be better to do it on H4 or F1? If F1, what is the procedure? So before you answer, Sonal, H4 to F1 detailed guide we have on the website. So check that out. But I would let you answer this question. I'm considering masters. Is it better to do on H4 or F1?
Well, see, if you have H4 EAD already, then no. Then you don't need to go through the hassle to go to F1 and just get 1 year of OPT. If you don't have the H4 EAD and it's not going to be there for another 2 years or 3 years, then sure, go to F1 because you at least get the OPT at least for a minimum for a year. And if it is a STEM field, then you get it for 3 years.
Yes.
So it's a good idea. If you don't see H4 EAD coming in picture pretty soon, then I would say, yes, that's what I do. I moved from H4 to F1 because that would make sense at H4 EAD.
At that time.
Yeah.
Got it. Last question. Thank you so much, Sonal, for the extra time. Can a TN visa be converted to H1 or L1?
Yes. Well, for H1, they have to go through the lottery. Same process. L1, yes, it can be done. Like it's any other L1. Like it's applicable to any other person, it's applicable to TN as well. So no issues there, H1 or L1.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sonal. Guys, we tried our best to answer all the questions. If we missed, we will try to get back to you with what the information we have. Sonal, we'll try to do this again with you, but we appreciate your time. Before we go, can you tell everyone who's there how to reach out to you, where to find you, and how to work with you if they want to? I just want to make sure that they have all of this information. We will also type it in the description box.
Well, my website is sharmalawsassociates.com or just type sonalsharma.com. Both will take you to my website. Contact information is there on the website. The easiest way to reach out to me is either call 646-360-5955 or shoot me an email. Email is the fastest, sonal@sharmalawsassociates.com, because I'm always on email, so it's easier to respond very quickly. But yeah, check out my website and all the information is there, where my office is and my contact details. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sonal. Like, I truly appreciate, since we have known known each other, you've been so helpful. Your journey is very similar to a lot of our followers, from H4 to green card, F1, everything. You've done it all, and now you're helping us. So truly appreciate. Everyone, please, we will be sharing the details. Check it out. I know we got some very, very detailed, specific questions. So if you're super specific case, reach out to Sonal, work with her. But thanks for joining. We will try to do this again. Have a great weekend, everyone. And till next time, if things are not going your way, remember, it's okay, Yaar. And okay, bye, everyone. Thanks, Sonal. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.